Okay. Welcome to the June meeting of the Cumbrae Community Council. We've had apologies so far from Millport Town Hall and from Councillor Marshall. And we don't have any declarations of interest, I think. If anyone wants to make one, can you let me know now? Right, great. Then we're going to jump into updates from organisations. The police, please.
Okay. Hello everybody. Today, two crimes. First one is a serious assault with offensive weapon in George Street. That was detected the Millway custody. And the second one is a report of vandalism in Cambridge Bay. The inquiry is ongoing for that one.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions? It's not like any of you to not have any comments. Okay, so does that feel like it's been quite a quiet month or quite a difficult month?
Obviously, we don't like to see the reports of serious assault with offensive weapon, but that was a visitor to the island, so it's been dealt with, and he's not he's not local at all, not even from Scotland, so there's very little chance of him returning, which is a real positive.
Okay, we probably need to put up a sign making sure he knows he's not welcome to come back ever. We'll look into that maybe with North Ayrshire Council later in the meeting. Thank you, and thank you for dealing with that. No comments, anybody? Okay, is John here? I can't see everybody. Do we have a Coast Guard report? No, and nothing from IOCTA. Duncan?
Sorry, Alex, IOCTA. I don't have any from IOCTA. You want some from me from the field studies?
No, I was just, if you'd been speaking to IOCTA, that's fine. Right, I'm going to jump to Jan, who I've seen somewhere on my screen, to talk about CCDC, please.
Thanks, Alex. Evening, everyone. Just a brief roundup for tonight. At Garrison House, the last of the windows are scheduled to be fitted week mentioned the 30th of June, with Hilson and Bennett then dealing with any snagging issues presented, and this will be followed up by further inspection by the main contractor, Go Right, and our architects, ZM Architecture. Additional Go Right staff have been brought on site over the last couple of weeks to provide support regarding the pointing, stone cutting and fitting of the new coping stones and the mastic being put in place around the windows. It's Go Right's intention that the extra staff will be available until the works are completed. Repairs are scheduled for mid-late to late July at the AstroTurf to make good the turf which has been intentionally damaged, and it is hoped that this is not repeated. I await word from North Ayrshire Council on an assessment of the netting which surrounds the pitch, as this is in much need of attention also. You may remember back in April, I reported that the Cumbrae Youth Project team were hoping to secure funding for the opening of a breakfast club and in time a homework club operating at the drop-in centre within the grounds of the Garrison House. Delighted to say that the group was successful in their bid for funding, and works are scheduled to take place between the 14th and the 31st of July. Sorry, I'll share this with you, Alex, I should have said. This is when our regular groups have stopped for the summer break. These upgrades, as well as allowing CYP to provide the much needed services which they will offer, also benefits those groups who currently make use of the drop-in centre and will continue to do so going forward. On Saturday, the 21st of June, we hosted the ever-popular classic car rally within the grounds, and once again, this event was a huge success, and the weather couldn't have been better. Plans are already underway for next year, and a date in June 2026 has already been confirmed. Coming up next month, we have a Millport Fun Day within our grounds on Tuesday, the 1st of July, run by North Ayrshire Council, and KA Leisure are running a summer camp from the 7th to the 10th of July. We may also be hosting a camp for a group of BB from Denmark, though dates have to be confirmed for this. Lastly, within Garrison House itself, a new exhibition by photographer Alan Dimmock will be available to view from the 4th of July and be with us throughout July and August. And that rounds up my report for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions from anybody? Thank you, Jan. And Jan, I got your email noting palm tree. Do you want to just quickly do your palm moment so that everybody knows?
Hi, yes. We had a leak on the pipework from the meter going to the Crockrock public toilet block. So we obviously had to bring in a digger and expose the pipework. But what we found that some of the palm tree roots have dislodged some of the concrete slabs which surround the meter, and have become wrapped around different works and part of the pipework. So I had to contact North Ayrshire Council and explain that, you know, the tree was going to have, we're having to expose a lot of the roots. And the gentleman I spoke with explained that, you know, to move the tree and replant it, it wouldn't take. So the intention is of North Ayrshire Council, unfortunately, they'll have to be removing that one particular palm tree, which is causing issues with the meter. They haven't confirmed if they're going to plant a one in replacement. I haven't heard that yet.
I believe, and Thomas is on the call, nice to see you, Thomas, that there is a fund for tree planting, and therefore Thomas would probably be very excited to give you a tree back for.
Lovely.
And they're Cordyline australis is what those are.
All right.
So they're technically not trees. They're a form of cabbage palm.
All right. Thank you.
Alex, if I may, Jan, who was your contact regarding the tree? Who were you talking to?
I've been speaking to Steve Arnott.
Steve Arnott, okay.
Okay.
Right, yeah, we'll get you a replacement, a tree or shrub, whatever. We'll get you something to replace that. But he's absolutely correct. These things don't take well to be moved about. So once they're out the ground, that tends to be that. So I give you a commitment. We'll get you something. I'll speak to Stephen tomorrow.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In my notes, I now have new tree for Jan.
Yes, you have that down. And if anybody wants any trees, please contact me. We have a tree planting fund, as Alex says. We have a commitment to plant 108,000 trees by 2030. We've done about 50,000 just now. So please, if you've want any trees, let me know.
As a community, we do, and we could cover that now just for speed and neatness. We have a proposal, and we're aware that we, as well as you wanting to give us trees, we've hesitated because we all like having our great views, and we don't want to put trees where they're going to block anyone's views.
Of course.
But we have agreed that we would want to have some fruit trees put into Ninian Park, because and we know that there's a long-term aim from the youth in our community who are quite interested in having a skate park there. So what we were wanting to do was to put in trees that were in a sensitive place to allow a skate park, potentially following everyone's agreement, following planning and stuff, to go into that space. But I think we agreed that kind of like the perimeter of the park might be a really good way of adding in fruit trees. So I'd really be happy to I've mentioned it to Steve Arnott. It's been in the planning that I put forward for all of the flower beds, all of those documents. I guess I just need to pick up with him now and say, can we have the trees?
Yeah, please do. I'll speak to Stephen tomorrow and pick up on Jan's issue, and I'll mention about the fruit trees as well. But yeah, we're committed to planting more trees, and fruit trees is good as well, because there's all that connection about food poverty, about people picking, fruit from the trees and going and cooking it and using it in a sustainable way. So it ticks a lot of boxes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks. So over to Cumbrae Forum.
My park. I'll tell you now. Sorry. Evening, everyone.
I want to know what you were going to tell him in a minute. That sounds really exciting.
He was asking where the Ninian Park was.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yesterday we held our last lunch club of the season, which was attended by 68 members, and the lunch club will restart again in September. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank Leslie and Robert and all their staff for the meals provided throughout the year, and also a huge thank you must go to our loyal volunteers who help at the lunch club, whether it's serving the meals or delivering meals to those that are unable to attend. Each of our lunch club members and volunteers have been given £20 summer vouchers to be used in the local cafes and restaurants throughout the summer. And just a reminder that the vouchers must be used before the end of August. As Jan mentioned, KA Leisure are running a summer camp, And the Cumbrae Forum have funded for primary school pupils, the Cumbrae primary pupils, to attend this summer camp running from the 7th to the 10th of July. And the Delhi, I believe, are providing the packed lunches this time. Today was the end of term service at Cumbrae Primary School and in the Cumbrae Parish Church, and there are 11 pupils moving on to Largs Academy. And the forum gifted items of school uniforms to the 11 school leavers. The pupils were able to choose from hoodies, cardigans, polo shirts, sweatshirts, and they chose whatever they wanted themselves to get, and they were presented to them today. Filming has taken place this week with Channel 4 for a programme called Our Tiny Islands. The programme was wanting to focus mainly on community life on Britain's small islands, and the programme makers were very interested in the work of the Cumbrae Forum, the Cycling Without Age initiative, and they also filmed at the Cathedral of the Isles and filmed with Alistair Chisholm. It'll be a few months, possibly next year sometime, before the programme will be aired, but it's a great programme and you can watch previous episodes on Channel 4 Catch Up. It's actually a really interesting programme. So, yep, and that ends the report for the forum.
Thank you. Really looking forward to seeing that programme coming out. Obviously, I've been having lots of conversations with the producer in the background to get that together. I think it's going to be lovely because he came over with his drones, didn't he? And he was planning on going over to Wee Cumbrae and then looking back at the island. And really
I think they did that.
In kind of community. Yeah. Okay, good. Really glad. Any other questions or comments for the Cumbrae Forum? Can I just say thank you, and thank you for kind of how sensitive you are in terms of what you give to the pupils and letting them have choice, but also making sure that that transition is handled smoothly. That's really, really good. It's a big cohort going from the island.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We haven't got anyone here from Millport Motors, I don't think. Millport Golf Club.
Oh, hi, Alex. It's John here from the golf club. Yeah, just to say, golf club's had a really kind of busy start to the season. Our visitor numbers are up quite a bit. I guess a combination of good weather, the ferries working, and quite a lot of effort from this kind of staff and volunteers up there. So far so good. As long as neither of the weather or the ferries go down in the next few weeks, it's been quite a good year. I'd like to thank a lot of the local businesses have been quite generous in offering sponsorship and prizes for some of these open competitions, which helps to attract people in and gets hanging about. So that's been really good. And the only one thing which kind of comes up occasionally in our committee meetings, and we never do anything about it. And I was just thought I would ask if there was anybody in the kind of community council who would kind of be knowledgeable in this area, is that people come up and walk their dogs in the golf course, which is entirely okay. But what's not okay is if they come up and let the dogs run wild and they, dig up sensitive areas that have been, cost thousands of pounds to prepare. And I think there is a kind of standard signage that I've seen, but it's quite wordy, like you can do this, you can't do that, and everything. And I just wondered whether there's anybody else on the community council, other organisations who, have thought about how do you communicate to people the right to roam with the responsibility of where you can and can't go. Because I wouldn't like to just go and put up a big kind of strongly worded sign that looks like we're kind of saying get off my land type of thing, which is not really the intention.
So John, my day job is handling comms for a really large alio with Glasgow City Council. I have 100 venues. I'm happy if we agree the wording, I'm happy to help you get it expressed in a way that is positive, not negative. I do that for my day job, so that won't take me very long if you like.
That would
and
be
I think
great,
it sounds like Thomas might have some wording examples that we could use.
Yeah, because it can have kind of spin-off effects if people are able to walk up with their dog up to the golf course, then they'll be walking past potentially other places, and so it's kind of, might annoy people or it might be good. I don't know, but yeah, that would be great, Alex, if we could just.
Okay.
It's not urgent, but it's something that would be good to kind of bottom out on. Thanks.
Okay.
Alex, want me to go in? Yeah, from a council's view, we've had some issues with dogs in cemeteries, believe it or not, where people like to walk their dogs in cemeteries, and unfortunately they let them off the leash. Some are defecating in graves and stuff, which is just awful. But there's people who want to take their dogs to cemeteries because there's a connection between the dogs and sometimes the bereaved. So it's about getting that balance, and it is difficult. So signs such as, the golf club welcomes responsible dog owners. Just something very, very simple. You're not having to get into the rules, because responsible means be responsible, as in don't let it dig up the turf and do their business, etc. So we find just simple signage like that. We don't want to ban dogs because I think it's that kind of using a kind of sledgehammer to cracking up. But at the same time, we get that it's really disrespectful for people to go up to graves and see what's happening as well. So I think sometimes the more simpler the sign, the better. And something like, Millport Golf Club or whatever welcomes, responsible dog owners might be the way forward. Just a
I
suggestion.
agree. And you can also, the other thing you can do, John, is we could add in a QR code that takes you to a website with more detailed terms and conditions, so that then if people really aren't listening, you can gradually strengthen the language, but also you can vary it. So I'll have a chat with you about how you lay it out and what you do. Gregor,
okay.
as a keen golfer who complains that the holes are too small on the course.
Yeah, I think we should add no rabbits to the sign. I think that's possible.
Are you allowing the hedgehogs to stay?
Hedgehogs are fine, but the rabbits are out of control. They're not behaving properly at all.
Okay, fine. So, John, that's up to you whether you'll take on the rabbits comment or not. Anybody else?
Yes, it's an ongoing issue, rabbits on golf courses, yes. More rain, actually, rain chases them off. The dry weather, they love the dry weather and they dig up holes. Anyway.
Okay, fine. So that's fine. Okay, thank you. I just moved to I have apologies from Julie from Cumbrae Primary, but she's just sent me a note through. She said she's out tonight, so she apologizes for not being able to be here. We've had a lovely end of term service today, and it was attended by many people. She also wanted us to know that unfortunately in August, she's going to be moving schools for around 6 months, but then she's going to be coming back. Mrs. Jennifer Nielsen, the principal teacher, is going to act up, and Mrs. Joyce will be the new principal teacher, but she will be back. So there's just going to be a little bit of a shuffling around, but it will return back to its status quo, just to let everybody know. So that's the primary. Field studies, unless anyone's got any questions, I can put them to Julie. No, Field Studies Council.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, a busy month at the FSC. We've had 6 universities visiting this month, namely Newcastle, York, Manchester, Stirling, Lincoln and Leeds, who brought around 300 students, all at various stages of their degrees. Most of the local hostelries benefited from the students enjoying the nightlife in Millport. Don't know about the residents, but the hostelries enjoyed it. And we only had 2 schools coming to the centre this month, owing to exams and coming to the end of the term for the Scottish schools. Fetish College from Edinburgh and the Vienna European School, who just left yesterday after 5 days at the centre. They were doing marine studies, rock climbing and archery, with the Viennese students enjoying the Scottish menu of haggis, neeps and tatties, and square sausage and a tatty scone washed down with iron brew. They were absolutely thrilled. That's all the report from the FSC.
Thank you. Feel that you're feeding them too well, but we have seen them all going and enjoying themselves in the hostelries. So that's good for really good for the island.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So challenges to ferry users group to be just as positive.
Areas and positive don't often appear in the same sentence, Alex. I think, to be fair, to be positive, I mean, the ferry has tended to run reasonably well over the past couple of months, so there is some positives in there. It was very busy, obviously, last weekend with the Classic Car event, so I know there were some issues over passenger marshalling and things like that, but I think generally the ferry has been, by CalMac standards, reasonable over the past couple of months. Moving on to the practical bits, which are more relevant in terms of the challenges. So the project to rebuild Cumbrae Slip will start in the autumn. It's currently in for planning with North Ayrshire Council. The Ferry Committee and the Community Council have objected to the plans as they stand at the moment, particularly around the terminal building, which is basically an open shelter with no real proper weather protection for passengers, which is not really acceptable for a run with this volume of passengers compared with every other building that CalMac has for passenger welfare. Also a number of reservations about how they're running the ticket sales and scanning, and from a contingency point of view for long-term power cuts, the reliability of the supply to the lighting, which enables the ferry to run, doesn't seem to be particularly good. So we've highlighted a number of objections in terms of infrastructure being adequate for the island. So that will go through the North Ayrshire Council planning process. So obviously that will do to the planning committee to make their mind as to whether to approve it as it stands or whether to advise otherwise. So that's first thing. Cumbrae Slip, the contract is supposed to start in about October, take about 18 months to rebuild it. The slipway that's been built will be south of the current Cumbrae Slip, and I'm sure there will be some disruption to the car queue, but most of the build should be off the road and away from the current ferry slip. So, and the intention is that the majority of material will be brought by barge as opposed to by lorry. So it will be quite significant in terms of the island, but hopefully not too disruptive. But we'll wait to see once they appoint a contractor and actually start doing things with there. Contingency planning, we're having ongoing discussions about the contingency planning for the winter, where we've got an expectation that within an hour of a breakdown they've mobilised the spare vessel. So that seems to be a challenge for CalMac over the winter. But we seem to have engaged some alternative thinking, so hopefully that'll be more constructive over the next month or two and get something in place that's better for the winter time if the Loch Shira does break down. The contract for CalMac, people are probably aware it's going to be a direct award by the Scottish Government to CalMac for a rolling contract. So they're doing a lot of work with the Ferries Community Board about community accountability, because that's obviously one of the fundamental issues. We feel that CalMac, virtually every community in the west of Scotland feels that CalMac are very distant from and not responsive to the actual needs of every island. So we're still trying to work with Transport Scotland to try and make that better than the very hands-off approach that CalMac take, do what suits them, not the communities. So still a lot of work going on there. So that's probably enough for me at the moment from a ferries point of view. So pass back to you, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any ferry questions? Carol, I can see your hand up.
I was just wondering if there was any rationale on the days that they choose to load the cars before the people, why they do that. In other words, why are they leaving people standing outside while they load all the cars?
Well, they've moved back away from that after us objecting heavily and getting our MSP involved in it. So they will do it in certain conditions, but having modified the ramp with additional railings, they generally, not all the time, load passengers and cars at the same time. But there is a lot of safety concerns within CalMac. But I think, they've put in place processes that are allow them to run the 15-minute service, because they wanted to go to the 20-minute service to allow them 10 minutes to unload and unload. So maintaining the 15 minutes, I think, was a win for us, a huge win for us in terms of the lobbying that was done. And they generally load and unload cars at the same time, but not always, Carol. It depends on what ferry you're on and what the weather conditions are and all the rest of it.
Yeah, but what I still don't understand, I understand all of that. And, I came back on the Isle of Cumbrae the other day and it was raining and we were left stood outside while they loaded the cars. And I just think, I don't understand what safety reasons there are that you have to load cars before people if you're doing them separately. That's all.
I think the safety reasons are the risk of a conflict between cars and passengers. And Isle of Cumbrae has not been modified the way the Loch Shearer has, so they will be operating that protocol, I think, on the Isle of Cumbrae.
But Angus, can I come in?
Yeah.
I think Carol's point is, shouldn't people like people on feet always be loaded first? Because they have to stand and wait. They have to stand in the wind and the whatever.
No, that's fine. No, I'm
while
sorry,
people
I
in
missed that
cars
point.
who are
Thanks, Alex.
sitting down. Could you pass that back through?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Also, from our perspective, I think it would be really helpful to have a conversation about what is likely to happen, and we can take this offline as the next timetable cycle changes. And we know that as that's coming up, we know they're likely to try and push the timetable to the one that they tried to bring in. So they're going to try and reduce the number of sailings. So what can we do in advance? What data can we gather? What FOIs can we drop in now? That means that you're going to have a better case for further down the line when we've got to fight this.
Yeah, I've seen no noise at the moment that suggests they will do, but we'll pick that up over the next month or two and see if there's anything else we need to do with it. So we're meeting the operational management in the middle of July. So if there's any suggestion that it might go back that way, then we'll obviously pick that up, Alex.
From one of my comments as well, you just said safety concerns as if it's this big, huge issue that we now all need to live with. I'd like to know what material safety concerns they actually have. What evidence of any safety issues there have
They have no
been
evidence
on
that
the
they
island.
will present to us of safety issues on this route particularly, but they have been gathering concerns of near misses and things like that, and that's what I'm expecting to see in July, if anything. If that looks like there's that risk that it starts heading down an avenue that they want it to go, then we'll need to review and come up with a plan to address that.
Could we also do one other thing, which is I have my own island concerns that I'd like to start putting forward, which is how many people does it take to change a light bulb? I have never seen more people loading or unloading. I think there were 7 of them loading us. One was directing the other person who was directing a third to tell us which way to walk. And none of them paid any actual attention. So that we all know Carol can still walk off the edge of the pier. They won't stop her doing that. It's like they're proliferating numbers of people. And so for me, why? I just want to anyone else is free to join in and not make it look like it's me being on a rant, but seriously.
So one of the controls that they put in place were the barriers to try and separate cars and passengers, additional barriers in the Loch Shearer ramp, and they felt there was a need to have safety marshals there as well. So I didn't really care what they put in as long as they gave us a 15-minute service. So as far as I'm concerned,
I accept that, but I get first ferry in the morning and I have no safety marshals. I'm allowed to do what I like when I like. And also, their safety marshals stood with the barrier going down over her foot, not in proper PPE, and allowed the barrier thing to go right up to her edge. They are not fully safe. I do not accept their safety issues at all. Duncan, I'm going to stop now because I know I'm going to get grumpy.
Before you rant anymore,
not grumpy.
I spoke with some CalMac staff during the week, and I asked the same question: why do we have so many marshals? Well, he says the marshals aren't employed by CalMac. They're not CalMac employees. They're a separate company that's been brought in to marshal only, and that's all they do. And if you notice the people down at the water's edge, they don't collect tickets. They're not allowed to because they're not CalMac employees. And I asked them why then did they have CalMac PPE on. I think they said they just borrowed the jackets. Because none of them have any, I don't know if you've noticed, but none of them wear any safety boots or anything. They're only there as marshals. That's all they're employed to do.
She put her foot under the barrier as it came down, and I was sitting in a car waiting for her to have her foot crushed. And she was chatting away, and it missed her by that amount, and she didn't have anyway. So Angus, can we pass that back to you in a grump from the island, please?
You can paraphrase it and get Alex about what you want. But Carol's point, I'll take that back, certainly.
Okay, thank you. Quick updates, key island projects, place plan, Gregor.
You kept me waiting for a while there.
I wanted to rant. I'm sorry, I should have stopped.
So, the main thing on the place plan continues to be the second home council tax impact assessment. So the consultation for that closed last week, I think. And there were 129 people made representations, 126 of which objected to the second home council tax. So that's pretty overwhelming. And there were quite a lot of quite tragic stories of people who have had second homes, little flats for generations, and their grandparents use them, their parents use them, they use them, all their family members and some friends use them. And they're not just occasional visitors, they're part of the community and they're members of clubs and that sort of thing. And now their choice is either to sell the flat or to spend a lot less money on the island. So either way, this is bad for the island, and in no way is going to increase the number of properties that are suitable for working families to come and live here doing these mythical jobs that nobody quite knows what they would be. So we've kind of summarised all of that and written to North Ayrshire Council as part of the proceedings. They now have to decide whether any further procedure is necessary or whether they're just going to determine a decision on this now. And I think they've got up to about 6 months and they can do that, but they can technically do it now. It's a bit unfortunate that they get to assess their own impact assessment and decide whether it was any good or not. But that's the way that the legislation is written. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and see what they come back with. We have asked them to explain how they're going to ensure that it's impartial, being as they're assessing their own work. But we've not had a response to that yet. So that's the place plan for now.
I shared that work out on social media, and I would like to have a general confession that many people have come back and said, "Well done, Alex." And technically, I didn't do that work at all. That was Gregor. I'd just like everyone to know.
Alex,
Okay.
can I just ask, Gregor, what were the figures you gave at the beginning there? About the
129 representations, 126 of them were objecting to the second home council tax.
Okay.
One was in favour and 2 were kind of not clear.
Thanks. Thank you.
Carbon neutral islands project, Scott.
Thanks, Alex. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully this is a nice quick update from me this month. We are currently working on 4 different funding applications. They're all quite extensive, so that's eating up a lot of our time at the moment. I do apologise to anyone that is contacting us and we're not being our usual quick sales getting back to you. That is the reason why. We currently have 20 properties in the process of receiving or applying for energy efficiency upgrades. That is through the Eco4 and the area-based scheme, so we're working quite closely with North Ayrshire Council on that. The RTS deadline, so this is the radio teleswitch. The deadline was the 30th of June. Hopefully everyone has now seen from social media, the press, etc., that has now been essentially cancelled. That date now signals the start of a more gradual phased out process of the switch off. As of 30th of May, there was still well over 300,000 metres to be replaced nationwide, and they were only being replaced at a rate of 1,000 per day. So I think it's safe to say the energy companies missed their target by quite some time. Westminster have stepped in and said that a phased approach will be taken to this. So nobody is going to lose any heating or anything like that on the 30th of June. The hope is that this will be a more cautious and clear process going forward for homeowners, because it certainly hasn't been up until now. If anyone is still worried about this, please come and see either myself or Diane at the West Lodge. And we are urging people to continue engaging with your energy company, because you will still need to change your meter over at some point. So that will still need to happen. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get figures for Cumbrae specifically on how many meters still need to be replaced. However, I have spotted that the van of one of the companies doing it has been on the island for the last 4 days. So they are obviously working through the Cumbrae ones at the moment. There is loads more, but that's the kind of key points from the CNI project at the moment.
Thanks, Scott. I hope you're successful with the funding.
Me too.
Thank you. Any comments for Scott? No? Okay, so on to Millport Town Hall. I've had apologies and a brief report. So they say their regeneration works are nearly finished. The trustees and volunteers are painting the holiday flats in the next couple of weeks. Funding has been achieved from Calburn Wind Farm for various finishing items, such as a money safe and some kitchen equipment. Clubs and organisation representatives have been invited for pre-opening visit on Thursday, the 3rd of July, to view the spaces and storage facilities. The Community Council nomination for that, and there was an incredible fight, was won by Duncan. So we're looking forward to hearing your report and seeing you share photos. Robert, you weren't there at the time, and I'm sorry, because otherwise you'd have got, a C in, but Duncan stole that from you. Are you going to unmute and complain?
No, I'm going on behalf of Sonoro Community Choir.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
My wife's going on behalf of the Boys Brigade, and I think John Orr is going on behalf of the Drama Club. So
right.
yes, if anybody's wanting an in, I'm pretty sure I know some clubs that could get you in.
That's great. Well, at the moment, Duncan won our prize. So
Yeah.
anyone who wants behind the scenes to suddenly represent a group, speak to Robert. Thank you. Well, it's exciting, and it's going to be exciting when we get that open for the island. It's going to be such a new facility. So that's great. Talking of new facilities, Graham is shortly going to deliver a marina. Would you like to update us?
I don't think I'll be delivering the marina, but not actually much to report this month, except to say we didn't get an invite to the town hall, so maybe I'd better complain about that. The only thing I would say is that, as previously reported, we're waiting for some outcomes from the ongoing development and design and costing work before we progress the community's bid to operate the marina and do further work on the business case, etc., with CCDC, obviously. So that's it, really. We're just waiting for some information from North Ayrshire at the moment, once their work's completed through the consultant.
Okay. I have a question for you. And by the way,
good.
everybody, they shouldn't all come from me. So you need to find some difficult questions as well, please, for these meetings. So my question is, Scotto came over and did a community consultation about tourism, which I thought was really interesting, and raised some interesting questions, which John and Carol probably should take offline about, for example, in future, if the cathedral starts to develop residential opportunities, how could the golf club benefit from that in terms of like seasonally or bringing over tourists, because you could do golf weekend that you could then stay at the cathedral? Is the design of the accommodation at the cathedral going to be able to take in requirements of any groups that John might have, because he might have specific sector groups like American tourists who have really particular needs, but it would really benefit the financial future of the island. So Graham, when is Scotto coming back to take that conversation forward?
I don't know. I didn't make it to the original meeting, unfortunately, so I might throw that back to Jan. But I would just say, and looking at the business case for the community taking on the job of running the marina, All these aspects will be included to strengthen our bid that we can link up with other organisations on the island and get added value benefit for the island out of the marina, not just take money off the island. So that'll be a big part of the business case, linking up and finding out how we can tie in with other organisations.
Okay.
If I can just come in, Alex. So they're looking to have another workshop in October to go through the report and all the information collated. They went out to those who attended the meeting and asked them, proposing dates where they would like to come back together again. And because the time of the report and coming up to the busier season, businesses felt it would be better to wait until the autumn. So they're going to go out again to all who attended, and they're looking at October for a follow-up.
So they chose a weekday, and I work, so I couldn't attend on a weekday. So if they've now only gone to those who attended, I'm then excluded because I haven't been able to give you my feedback to say, please do out of working hours.
Right. I will share that. I will share that with them. Not a problem.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Because it was a very detailed report, and I know Karen Tobin quite well, and it has the potential to be really important for the island long term. It's really good.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you. That's Cathedral, Carol.
The answer to your question a few minutes ago is yes. The provision of facilities for groups has been clearly planned into the longer term strategic, the strategic view of where we're going. We are at the moment in a bit of a hold in terms of the strategic view for a number of reasons, but we are applying for grants and all the rest of it. So as soon as we get formal go ahead, that we'll be in a position to start. In the meantime, we are looking to reopen North College in its current state, just to sort of ease some of the pressures, because we're getting an enormous number of requests to open it for accommodation. So, and also it will help to ease cash flow a little bit if that happens. So we're actively looking at that at the moment. And finally, we had TV Ayrshire, which is the youth group who does training and things in television and video and whatever. I'm not into these things, as you know, but they actually came and did a film about the cathedral and its environs, and that's now on YouTube. But I've also got a Vimeo of it, which I will send you a link, which I will send to you, Alex, so you can stick it to wherever you want to post it.
I will. We'll post that out. That would be really good. Thank you. I can put that up on Facebook and into our minutes. Thanks, Carol. Any questions for Carol? Right. So Gregor, planning applications.
So there's just a few minor planning applications. So there's some removal of some sycamores at 24 Cardiff Street and 10 Cardiff Street, which I think relates to interference with some overhead cables. There's installation of a solar panels and a heat pump at 16A Butte Terrace. And there's some minor alterations to Figatock Farm. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it's the farm on the inner circle, just below the kind of the steep hill that goes up to the highest point. But they're quite minor changes. And then, as Angus says, regrettably, we have objected to the new ferry slip, which is a shame, because obviously we support the improvements to the ferry slip. But as CalMac haven't really taken on board any of the comments that were made during the consultation process, they've sort of left us with no option but to formally object. So that's annoying, but that's what we've had to do. So that's it for planning.
Thank you. Any questions for Gregor? No. Thomas, over to you.
Thank you, Alex. Just a few updates. So with regards to the play park we discussed, I think, before a few months ago at West Bay, just to let you know that's now out to tender. So once we get the tenders back, we'll get the works commenced there, but there's a significant sum being spent in West Bay to improve the children's play park. With regards to the roads maintenance programme, we've now did our approvals and got our kind of tender packages of work together. So there's a few works taking place in Cumbrae this year, resurfacing Glasgow Street, the Craig and Row Road, and also at Craig Street, doing some screeding work, £155,000 worth at the inner circle, which is really applying a layer for a more smoother surface, allows to do some road markings, and resurfacing the footway between Howard Street and Butte Terrace as well. So that'll all go ahead over the summer months and the better weather, probably August, September time. Regards to Milburn, did the consultation on that. 85% were in favour of doing the works over the winter and to minimise disruption in the summer, which we kind of half expected the result to be. Regards to the flood protection scheme, it's essentially complete in terms of the flood defence works, but there's still some what's ongoing round about, reseeding some of the areas round about it and putting in benches, etc. And we're working our way through the list. I think that the list Gary Wilson's been communicating with you on the list around that to try and get those actions done. That's all I've got to update just now. Alex, happy to take any questions.
Graham. Oh, sorry, Sandra was first.
I would just like to say, Alex, what a great job was done in the inner circle. It was like, I don't know, walking or driving on clouds compared to the pothole city, going up to the farm every day. So fantastic job. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. That's brilliant feedback, and I'll let the team know. Thank you.
Yeah. And they were also really nice. Everybody that was working there were, you know, knowing that you were going there, and there was a wedding taking place, and they were very, very supportive in the way they tried to help out with everything. So very much appreciated.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, Thomas, can I just echo that? It was my daughter's wedding.
Oh,
and the men were
congratulations.
excellent. There was a whole lot of, there was a marquee and everything, huge big trucks that had to go up and down, and the men were excellent at letting us all through. So
That's
thanks
really
for
good.
that.
It's nice to hear that the behaviour's good, and it's reputation of the council as well. We always ask people, you know, that you're representing the council, you make sure you know you do things properly. So that's fantastic feedback too. Thank you very much.
Graham.
Yeah, just a quick question. The West Bay Swing Park improvements, is it possible to see what's being done there, Thomas, or has it already been?
The West Bay Play Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were on the call last year, and I think when we were on the call, there was someone here representing some of the parents of the school was on, and they asked if they could get involved in it. So we kind of reopened the consultation, and we did some consultation with the pupils in the school as well. So I'll happily send you the design over, Graham, because it's out of tender. I can send you that, no problem. I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
All I can say is it's a significant sum. We're talking 6 figures.
Very good. Yep. Thanks. Did that
so
just to
for
follow
me,
on? Did that
I have a
stem
few
from
things.
the
Sorry, Graham.
consultation? I was just asking if that stemmed from the consultation exercise about play parks around North Ayrshire a few years back, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it emanated from that. So during COVID, the council put money into coastal play parks, and the Scottish Government have put an awful lot of money into play parks in 4 phases over the past 4 years. This is the final phase. So the 2 main ones that we're focusing on is phase 4 is the West Bay and Millport and Mackerston and Largs, which will also see improvements to it later this year.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I just wanted to also say that the soil addition that your team have done has been really neat and really well done. And it's so welcome because we have been living with kind of rubble for quite a long time. So we're really looking forward to seeing that, like the seed come through, but it looks really positive in terms of it.
That's good.
Also, thank you for providing the plants that we've now planted around the island and are now in bloom. That was some piece of work to get, and we're hoping all those planters take, and then we've got kind of evergreen plants. And thank you to everyone from the community who helped get that sorted out. A few other things, Japanese knotweed. We raised that in the last month's call, and I'm apologising. I've been overseas, but I'm due to pick up and get. We've shared with Scott the geolocations that we've already done, and then
Yep.
I'm going to get in touch with Darren and then organise a drive around the island, and we'll re-tidy that up, but then we're going to hand that to Scott to help lead forward on.
That's great, thank you.
Because
So we tend to do that in September
now
once it's in
thriving.
flower. Yeah.
Yeah, Scott?
Yeah, just on that, I haven't spent a lot of time on it as of yet, but I have had the conversation with my equivalent on RASI, who's dealt with areas like this before. So, Thomas, I think if we could have a chat at some point just to talk about the best way forward with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got kind of plenty of information and hopefully a few ideas on how we can go about it as well. So.
Yeah, happy to do that, Scott. I'll set something up, and I'm conscious I have to set another meeting up with you and Gregor about some flooding issues, so we'll get all those in the diary soon. But usually September,
Thank you.
the knotweed, once it's in flower, that tends to be when it's easier to hit it and try and kill it off.
Okay. And then
Excellent.
my final piece, I guess I'd like to hand over to Councillor Collier, which is about overnight parking. So maybe and I know, Thomas, that's not perfectly you having to deal with it, but I'd like to moan at you anyway because you're here from Northish.
Okay, happy to take the moans, and I'll moan at someone else when I see them in the office.
Okay.
Just before
I'll lead off with the moans if you don't mind, Thomas.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, I'm only joking. Eleanor, just before we start, can I also thank the people for planting out in Millport and the volunteers of Cumbrae? I think it's fantastic what you do. If we can support you in any way, we'll do that. And I think moving to perennials and evergreens is the way forward in terms of, you know, carbon and sustainability and that all ground kind of flowering. So well done, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you.
I think I all know, I think it was not last one, but the meeting before, I took what was said at the meeting and put a strongly worded email to Thomas, in fact. And then it was passed to Louise Kirk to deal with in terms of the issues you're having with camping, camper vans and camping. I tried to get an update for the last meeting and that didn't really happen. And I tried again before this meeting, which I think Alex got copies of. I used highlighter this time on the emails, although that might help. You know, something a bit different colours. And I'll just read this to you because it won't take long. My response, what I got back. Thank you for your patience on this matter. It is taking time to work through the legislative parameters and to investigate potential opportunities. I've asked the teams for an update on progress since this date, and we'll share this as soon as possible. So that's it. And what we got was she did send copies of what the police have been putting online in terms of be good when you do it, which is not really what we asked, but it's fine. I mean, it's better to have it than not have it, but they haven't really so far. We're still waiting to see what we can actually do, because we'd asked not only was some assistance from the sort of Rose team and Thomas's team, but also from the legal team in terms of who owns what, who's responsible for what and what can we possibly do in terms of legalities on it. So, and I apologise for not having an update, but I have tried and I'll keep trying to get that. But as I said to her in the email, the summer's nearly over at the time we get anything done, which is very disappointing. So I'm sorry about that. Thomas, you want to say anything about that? Is he gone?
Yeah, as you say, Councillor Collins, it's not really my bag. Louise is the lead on tourism and on the camper van policy that she's looking to develop, and clearly the kind of legislation around that and camping, etc., all sits within Louise's remit. Clearly, it's only there, you know, from a kind of, because the camper van use the roads and I'm responsible for.
I appreciate that. I just said you in the first instance.
I'm happy to feed back to Louise tomorrow when I see her about, you know, that you want some action taken.
I've got like 8 pages I've just printed out 8 pages of communication, and we don't really have an output from, you know, I haven't really come back with anything concrete, which is, I say, is disappointing. And say by the time they get their act together, it will be winter. So,
okay. Well, I'll share your feedback with Louise tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Moving on, apologies again, the flood defence opening, I think I said, Alex, that was postponed. And it was only after I sent that email that I then found out that the reason it was postponed was Mary McCallan's now the Minister for Housing. So it's no longer, she's got a different portfolio. So I presume, I think the new one is Gillian Martin. So I presume that they're trying to rearrange it. And if I hear anything, I'll pass that on.
I can confirm we were actually in touch with the Scottish Government's office the last few weeks to try and get a rescheduled date. It was Gillian Martin was a temporary minister Mary McCallum's returning from maternity leave. I think it was in the government, they weren't sure who was going to take the portfolio on. And now, obviously, with the restructure, Mary McCallum's away to housing, so it is Gillian Martin.
Yeah.
But we're struggling to get a date after recess to fit this in. And clearly, we're going to get the elections next year as well and stuff, and there'll be purposes and all that in place. So if we don't get a date,
Can we maybe invite the community council? Would that be possible rather than me having to pass it on?
No. Once we get the date, there'll be a.
Because they weren't invited the last time. That's all I'm asking.
All local dignitaries will be invited. The difficult part is tying down the minister to a date. So
no, we had an invitation and then it was postponed, but the county council weren't invited to that. But
sorry, they keep changing the dates. Councillor Call, this is the problem. The Scottish Government Minister. We spoke today about it. If they can't tie them down to a date, in August, September this year, we'll probably go ahead with an official opening, and we'll just have to unveil the plaque with someone else, not the Scottish Government, if they can't attend, because we've tried in several times to try and get a minister to come along to do the official opening, but we'll try and get someone.
Okay, well, thanks for that. What was I going to say? Just to say that the councillors have also objected to the ferry terminal plan and lack of proper sheltered accommodation and facilities. So obviously that's the ones that are not on planning, because Ian's on planning. But I know that Alan and I have, so we put our two Pennyworth in as well. I've also asked in terms of the second home council tax, is it what, but I was unclear myself, is it what happens next? I think you've asked that as well. I think Greg had asked that, is what is the next step? Because I'm really interested to see where it's going now and how that is, as you say, how they got into assessing, is it impartial, etc. So also got a watching eye on that. So I don't know if anything else, unless anybody's got any questions.
Just to say, I had a response back from the lawyer, from the legal team, and they said that they would process our application and then they said it would go to cabinet. I think that's the next scrutiny that they do.
Goes to cabinet.
I'll forward you on that.
If you don't mind, Alex, because this is this thing about not knowing what's going on. But yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Okay.
But we're now just about recess starts tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is recess, so it'll be a few weeks before cabinet meets again. So it's not going to be in the near future. Anybody, anything else that myself can help with?
I don't think so. I think we're done.
Nope. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for coming, and thank you for trying to help with the second home council tax, as well as with the issues we're having with overnight parking, which, I mean, there have been comments back, Thomas, from the community noting that second home council tax moved through very quickly, even though nobody particularly wanted it. And if you look at the percentage, but when you then look at how people are reacting to overnight parking, the community is feeling quite ignored because it's been such a long time that we've been dealing with this. So that's just my moan, not at you, but through you, please.
It's noted.
Thank you. Scott's.
I was going to apologise about destroying your hopes of an hour long meeting there, Alex, but I see Graham's come in behind me. So
I'm a minute over.
Yeah. So this doesn't really fit within a single organisation, which is why I've waited till the end. As everyone in the community is probably aware, the DFIBs that are throughout the town came about from fundraising that was done by Stuart Cape, following a good friend of his who'd passed away. And there was a lot of fundraising done within the community for those DFIBs. Unfortunately, they are coming to the end of the lifespan, and they need replaced. CCDC have very kindly offered to act as the organisation that holds funds, etc., for that, and we have been awarded £3,000 from from Kilburn Wind Farm to replace some of those DFIBs, and also the pit stop funding will help replace the ones that are on the public toilets. So hopefully within the next couple of months, we should have completely new DFIBs across the town, and including in a couple of new locations as well. One of which will be West Bay toilets next to the football park, because I think that's an important place for a DFIB to be. Whilst it is not officially done through the fire service, it is some of the crew members of Millport Fire Station that have volunteered to take on the ongoing maintenance of these as well, and ensure that they are kept in a working order. So that I think that's a huge win. So thank you to Kilburn Wind Farm and also to North Ayrshire Council through the pit stop funding for that as well.
Thank you. And Graham, final, and I'm very mindful of time.
Right, I'm just going back in time a bit to Councillor Collier, I'm afraid. The overnight camping and overnight parking policy, I think you mentioned Louise Kirk and her team are developing something at the moment. I'd just like, I think about 4 years ago, there was a policy brought out by the council, but there was no local consultation on that one, so it just landed on us and there was no input from Cumbrae. And I think Cumbrae, as always, is very different to some of the other locations that you're dealing with problems in. And I'd just like, maybe if you could confirm that the Community Council and the island would have a say in any policy that is brought forward.
So it's not a policy, we're just asking for what is the best way to solve the particular issues that you have on the island.
Yeah. So
in terms of reviewing the whole policy, whether it's an addendum to that or whether it changes that as well, I don't know, because I haven't seen what they're going to do yet. Thomas has got his hand up. Maybe he's got more to add.
Yeah. Just to say, Graham, that a few months ago when I first raised, I reached out to Louise and I gave her Alex's contact details and I said, Cumbrae Community Council are really interested to share their views and opinions on wild camping and camper vans to enable you to, because Louise is looking at tourism strategies and how we can, encourage more tourists and do it, obviously in a way that we've got the infrastructure to support the tourism, etc. So Louise, as far as I know, reached out to you, Alex. Have you had communication on this or a discussion?
I sent her a full PowerPoint document with reports and numbers of camper vans, issues, photographs, evidence. I can send you a copy of it. So I did that within the same day that email came out. And I haven't heard anything back since, other than seeing Councillor Collier kind of chasing each month. But we really do want to move it forward. Yeah. I'd be happy to have a chat with Louise. I do tourism in Glasgow, so I would understand where she's coming from. But I need here to speak from a real community perspective. It's a blight on the beaches. It's becoming a health hazard on our beaches. So we really need to sort it out.
Okay, I'll feed that back to Louise tomorrow. And as I say, just to let you know, Graham, there was a connection made after a comment was made a few months ago, but it sounds like we need to do some further work on it. So I'll take that back to the office.
Thanks, Thomas, and thanks for coming.
A touch of deja vu, because we had about 2 years of discussions about this 4, 5, 6 years ago, and really it didn't go anywhere. So it's just to make sure that we get our input into it as well. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. And thank you, Thomas, for turning up and taking it for the team.
I always do.
I know, but we've given you many positive bits today.
It's been fantastic, really, really good feedback. Sometimes we get too caught up in the negativity and the complaints, and it's lovely here tonight that people are appreciating some of the work, because we do make a difference, and if we do jobs well, and if the behaviour of the staff is that's a really important one. The fact that the lady's daughter had a wedding and people were sensitive to it and helpful and all that's great feedback, and the team will be delighted.
Thank you. So say thank you to them, please. Okay,
Alex, can I interrupt before? I've got a question for Thomas. It's regarding the flood defence system.
Yeah.
Thomas, I don't understand why the joints between the blocks are not sealed. I had a walk round, some are sealed and some aren't. I had a walk round Camus Bay and there's already sand into the joint. There's already weeds there. That situation is only going to get worse.
Okay.
Can it not be sealed?
Yeah, I think there's been questions raised before about this, and there's a technical answer to it, which I don't know, but I'll find out, Ian, and I'll get the answer.
I can tell you, Thomas, we raised it at the time. We raised it as construction was happening because we were watching. And we were told that the seal is to allow water to come through the joints. We disagreed, fundamentally disagreed, because the gaps between the joints are filling up with debris and there's plants getting in between. And it wasn't an area, it didn't look as if it was for drainage. It looked as simply as if people hadn't carried on using the sealant.
Correct.
But that's where we got to. So we've raised it and we've had that response. We didn't agree with it. And then I sent pictures back in of where grass has started to grow in the joints.
Also, what will happen ultimately is that debris in those joints, it will get wet in the winter, it will freeze and it will burst the concrete. So it will just make the whole thing degrade over time.
Yeah, I remember that this year now. You reminded me that was the answer. It was to allow the water and the drainage. I'll go back and I'll check with the team to see if anything's changed on that, given what you've just said about them filling up or clogging up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I nearly got off light there with all positives.
I'm going to add that to your list, Thomas. Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to a close. We don't have a meeting in July, so the next meeting is the 28th of August. If anything comes up in the meantime, I don't need to say, I know you'll be in touch with us. You can get us on social media, or you can email us or grab us in town. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Alex,
See you in
can I
August.
also just say one thing? I think you all do a fantastic job. Thanks a lot from the community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.